Most of us, when we are sort of graduating from high school, begin to sort of have a plan where we're going to go to college, maybe even what we plan on doing after college, even though if most of us who have got past that phase realize that whatever our plans were for going into college, what happens afterwards never matches up. But we do. We sit and we sort of create a plan for our life, for how we're going to move forward. But as I said, so often that plan changes. And we can just see this. I believe the number is still 80% of the people who graduate from college work in a different field than what their major was in. I was a computer science major. Clearly, I'm not in the same field anymore. But there's one who has made a plan that really has never changed. That was God. He made a plan for salvation. And that plan began the moment that Adam and Eve messed up. God created a roadmap that would bring about our salvation. And one of the things we have to recognize is this truth. Our salvation does not depend upon us. We don't get to determine how we're going to be saved. We don't get a say in how that plan is supposed to unfold and how that plan is intended to be lived out. God alone decides the plan and the path of salvation. And ultimately, that plan is Jesus. As he even tells us, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And ultimately, that is what the Advent season and that is what the Christmas season is about. Christmas is not about wishing Jesus a happy birthday. We don't commemorate it simply because it's the day he was born. We commemorate Christmas because of what it means. It is God's revelation of his plan for salvation. It is God's revelation of how that salvation will begin in the person of Jesus. And in Advent, we are simply waiting for that day that Jesus is going to come again and bring to fulfillment that promise that came about through his death and resurrection, that it may be truly, fully, and completely consummated. And that is ultimately what it is that we come to seek to live. But for that to happen, we have to recognize sort of God's role and our role. God's role is to make it possible and to give us all of the tools necessary for us to be able to live out that salvation that he has won for us. Our role is simply to do it. Not to earn or merit or deserve salvation, because that's never possible. But simply to live out God's plan. And to live it out in a way that shows our true trust in the Lord. And what that means is we need both faith and trust in the promises that our God has made in Jesus. And through that, to truly experience God's grace to enable us to truly recognize and to live out the plan that he has for us. And the wonderful thing is, he will give us all that we need to accomplish it. We don't need to worry about that. But we must cooperate with God, to cooperate with what it is that God wants us to do. And if we're willing to do that, then the words that were spoken to Mary by Elizabeth so long ago are the words that are spoken to us today. Salvation is not a guarantee. It's a promise. It's not something that's just going to happen. It must be lived. But if we place our true faith and trust in the Lord and do exactly what he calls us to do, if we truly place our faith and trust in his plan, then those words of Elizabeth are spoken to us. Blessed are you who believed that what was spoken to you by the Lord would be fulfilled.